Hey, it's Mr. Lum again, and we're starting Math 10. And before we start the actual course of Math 10, we're going to do a little bit of Math 9 review. Okay, so in Math 9, we learned about rational numbers and essentially how to work with fractions. So we're going to do a little bit of review on that kind of stuff before we jump into Math 10. Anyways, so the first thing with fractions or rational numbers is adding rational numbers when they're in their fraction forms. So make sure that the denominator is the same when you add or subtract fractions. So here's our little example right here. We have 2/3 plus 1/5, or 2/3 plus 1/5. Now, when you're adding these things, we need to make sure the denominator, and the denominator means the bottom number, so we need to make sure the bottom number is the same. Okay, so right now they're 3 and 5, so they are not the same. So the easiest way to make them the same is to multiply them by each other. So multiply this one by 5, and then multiply this one by the 5 by a 3. Okay, now when you're doing fractions, if you multiply the bottom number by a certain number like this, so 5 times 3, you have to do that to the top number as well, so that it stays relatively the same number. Well, it stays the exact same number. Okay, so I'm going to multiply the bottom one by 5, so it's going to now become 15. The top is also multiplied by 5, so it's 10. Okay. The bottom is multiplied by 3, so 5 times 3 is 15, and the top is multiplied by 3, so 1 times 3 is just 3. Now, these numbers that we just wrote right here look very different from the original, but this is 2/3, okay? And 10/15 is the same as 2/3. So if you had a test or a quiz and you had got 2 out of 3 on that quiz, you would have 66.7%. That would be your grade if you had a quiz and you got 2 out of 3 on it. If you got 10 out of 15 on a quiz, you would also have 66.7% on that quiz. So as a fraction, they're the same number. Anyways, now moving on, we've made the denominators the same. We've made the bottom numbers the same. So now that we've made the bottom numbers the same, we can add the numerator. Now, what is the numerator? The numerator is the top number. So we're just going to add the numerators up. So 10 plus 3, that's 13. And the bottom number just remains the same. So our answer is going to be 13/15. Okay, if you would like, if you feel confident, you can try putting the video on pause and do this, but if you still feel a little bit unsure, I am going to go over all these kinds of things. So the first one, we have 2/3 plus 1/5, so the same question that we had last time. However, it's -1/5. Okay, so same thing, I'm going to take my 2/3, I'm going to multiply by 5, so that's going to be 10/15, multiplied by 3, and that's going to be 3/5. Sorry, 3/15. Now this is plus a -3/15. Okay, so we're adding a -3/15, or you can kind of just thinking it as 10 plus a -3, or you can just say 10 minus 3. So this would be 7. Okay, because this could be also written as 10 minus 3, like that. So it would be 7/15 would be our answer. Okay, now here's another question right here for the second one, and normally it'll always work if you multiply it by each other, but here I can do a little bit of a shortcut and realize that maybe I don't need to multiply this one right here. I can just multiply this one by 4 because the goal of this is to get the denominators the same. So if I multiply this one by 4, what I do to the bottom I must do to the top, then I'll have negative 5 over 8 plus negative, and I'm going to go 7 times 4, so that's 28. And I'm going to go 2 times 4, and that's going to be 8. So the goal is to make sure that the denominators are the same. Okay, so now they're the same, and I didn't have to multiply this first fraction right here, so it saves me a little bit of extra step right here. Now, so my answer is going to be, well, it's going to be over 8. Okay, so it's negative 5 plus negative 28. And if you're a person that has difficulty adding and subtracting negative numbers, I can't just make a very, very quick number line and it'll help you so much. So I'm just going to make a really quick number line, and I just always kind of put 0 there, and we'll kind of say, you know, there's negative 5. Now, so I'm going to start with the first number that I write down. So I write negative 5 right there. And then I have to add negative 28, or in other words, I have to go negative 28. And so this would be moving towards the positive direction, and this would be moving towards the negative direction. So this would be like plus 5 over here. So we start at negative 5, because that's what this number starts with. And then now we're going to take away 28 more. So we're going to be going 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way kind of there. So it's going to be negative 5 and then a negative 28 more on top of that. So that's going to make it negative 33. Okay? And so that's going to be our final answer right there, negative 33 over 8. Now, it is a improper fraction. So you could turn it into a mixed number where you have like a whole number that looks something like that one right there. Or you could just kind of leave it like this if you want. If you wanted to turn it into like a mixed number, you'd have to start taking some 8s out of this thing, okay? So you would kind of go, well, 1 8 can come out of there, 1, 2, 3, there's going to be 4 8s that could come out of there. So since there's 4 8s that could come out, you would write 4. Now 4 times 8 is 32, and this is 33, so there'd be 1 left over. Okay, now the whole thing is still negative. It's negative 33 over 8, so we have to make sure that this stays negative. So you could write your answer something like that as well. Okay, here's another one that we have right here. We have negative 1/4, 1 over 4, plus 2 1/6. And so what we're going to do is we are going to, there's a few different ways that you can do this, but what I'm going to do is we will make our denominators the same. So I'm going to times this one by 6, times by 6 right there, okay? And we can go times by 4 and times by 4 right there. Now one thing that you might be noticing is that if I go 4 times 6, okay, that's going to be 24. We're getting some like bigger numbers that are kind of like a little bit more difficult. Maybe there's a better way. So instead of timesing it by 6, we just want to have a common denominator. So what happens if I times this one by 3? And then times this one by 2. So if I times 4 times 3, that's going to be 12. Okay, and 3 over 12 like that. Okay, and this would be 2, and then it'll be 2 over 12, just like that. Okay. Okay, so Now, there's a couple different ways to deal with this mixed number that's right there. One way is to make it into an improper fraction. So I can go 2 times the 12 and then plus 2 more right there. So maybe I can do that. So 2 times 12 is 24, then add 2, 25, 26. Okay, so it could be negative 3 over 12 plus 26 over 12 like that. Okay. Now, same thing here. I got a negative number right here, and I got a positive number right there. I'm going to make my little number line right there. Okay. I'm starting at negative 3. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So that's negative 3. And I'm adding positive 26. So I'm adding 26 more. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to be adding 26 more to that. So in other words, since we started negative 3 back right there, it's going to be 23 and then 12 like right there. Okay, because it's moved into this positive zone right there. So it's going to be 23 over 12. And that's going to be our final answer. Now, we can turn it back into our mixed number. So I can only take, we can't quite take 2 12s out of there. We can only take 1 out of there. So it's going to be 1. And so I'm going to minus 12 from this 23 number right there. And that's going to be 11. So it would be 1 and 11 twelfths. Okay. Try putting the video on pause. See if you can do some of these ones right here, and see how that goes. But yeah. Anyways. And hopefully you get something like what I get right here. Okay. Same thing for this one right here. Kind of did this one before. But anyways. Okay. Multiplying fractions. Multiplying fractions is way easier in my opinion than adding and subtracting fractions. All you have to do is multiply the top numbers and then multiply the bottom numbers. So multiply the numerators, the top numbers, multiply the bottom numbers. Okay, so you just go 3 times 1 is 3, 8 times 4 is 32. That's it. Okay. If there's a negative, well, just realize that this number right here is positive. This number right here is negative. A positive times a negative, your answer should be negative. Okay. So go 2 times 3, 6, 5 times 4, 20. Positive times a negative is negative. And that's our answer right there. Okay. Now, this number can be reduced, so I can divide a 2 from there, and I can divide a 2 from there, and that would turn it into 3 over 10. But since it's negative, it also stays negative. Okay. Now, same thing for this one. We have a negative times a negative, so we know that our answer is going to be positive. So 4 times 1 is 4. 9 times 5 is 45. Okay? Negative times a negative is a positive, so our answer is positive 4 over 45. Okay. Now, when they're in mixed form, I highly recommend putting it into improper form. So an improper fraction. So how to do that? Remember, we go 1 times 9 is 9 plus 4. So 9 plus 4 is 13. 13 over 9. And that's going to be a negative number. Okay. And then we go 2 times 5 is 10. Plus 1 is 11. 11 over 5. And again, negative number. Okay. Now, 13, so what we're going to do is we're going to go 13 times 11. And for some people, that's a little bit hard. And I'm going to show you a few little kind of things. You can write it out and kind of like multiply it out. But in my head, what I'm doing is I go like, okay, 13 times 11, a little bit hard. I'm going to go 13 times 10. So I'm going to go 13 times 10, and that's 130. Okay, so that's 10 13s that have been added up. Well, I need one more 13 that I need added up. Okay, so that's going to be 143. Okay, so 10, this is 10 13s, and plus one more makes 11 13s. So I add these things up, and I'm like 143. So that's kind of how I do some of this math right here. So anyways, 143, negative times a negative is a positive. And then 9 times 5 is 45. Okay. Now, I can see right here that I should probably put it back into my mixed form. And so again, I think I've already covered this. Negative times negative, this is a positive number. So this is our final answer in improper form. I'm going to take some 45s out of there. So I can take out 1, 45, and 45. And so, and then I can take out another one, so that makes it 90. And then I can take out another one, makes it 135. So I can take out 3 in total. 3 45s is 135. Okay, and so what does that leave behind is 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and that's my final answer. Okay, last one right here. We're going to take in mixed form, put it into an improper fraction. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Okay, still negative. 2 times 5 is 10, 11, 12. Still negative. Okay, multiply the tops. Negative and negative is a positive. So 5 times 12, and then 2 times 5. So 2 times 5, nice and easy hopefully, is just 10. Now 5 times 12, again, same thing, I do this. I just go 5 times 10, so 50. And then 5 times 2 is 10. So 50 plus 10 is 60. Okay. And it's positive. So 60 over 10, which is also equal to 6 over 1. Or we can just say 6. Like that. Okay.